Hola, it's me, Vicky Marie. Oh, hello, it's me, Vicky Marie. I've forgotten that I'm not doing a Spanish video. Okay, what I wanted to talk about today, I just want to let you know now it's quite sad. I promised I would do an upbeat video next time. This video, unfortunately, is not very upbeat. It is quite a sad story, but I think it's very important to discuss this for everybody, for men and women. So I think we've all been affected by the discovery this week of the human remains that probably belong to Sarah Everard, who disappeared on the 3rd of March, walking home from a friend's house at 9 o'clock in the evening in London. I don't know how much you know about the case, if anything, but someone has been arrested on suspicion of murder. This person is a policeman, a serving policeman, which it shouldn't make it worse because it's terrible, whatever, but it does make it worse, doesn't it? Because, a policeman, you think of their sort of, they're to protect us, they're people that we think we can trust. This is, how we should feel about policemen. And so this guy has been arrested on suspicion of murder, and a woman has been arrested also on suspicion of aiding or an offender or whatever it is. So it's a terrible, terrible story. And then there's more revelations that we find out that this same guy was allegedly committed indecent exposure in a fast food restaurant 3 days before Sarah disappeared. And there's allegations that the police didn't deal properly with it. I would imagine that when there's got to be, it'd be very difficult not to treat someone differently who was part of your organisation, I think. But anyway, I'm not going to comment on that because I simply don't know. But the whole thing what makes me angry, if you like, is the fact that this girl was walking home at 9 o'clock at night, a 45-minute journey it should have been, and she never arrived home. And she should have been safe enough. Our streets, or certainly in Britain, the streets are not safe for people, and especially girls, to walk on alone. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not safe, boys are not safe either, because of course, all the stabbings and things like, it seems like every day you hear of a stabbing. But I think the difference with, somebody said it quite succinctly today on one of the social media platforms that I look at. What's different when it happens to girls or women, whichever way, at any age it can happen to someone, when they feel threatened or something happens to them, especially sort of sexual crimes, etc. You get all these questions like, well, what were they doing out at 9 o'clock at night? Why were they walking home on their own? It's like a victim blame. Why shouldn't she do that? Why shouldn't if tomorrow, tonight I can't sleep and at 2 o'clock in the morning I feel like going for a walk, why shouldn't I do that? I'm not. I mean, I can't do it at the moment because of the curfews, but normally why shouldn't I do that? That's freedom. I've not committed a crime by going out at 2 o'clock in the morning and walking my dog round the block because I can't sleep or I feel like some fresh air. It's not my fault. If a girl wants to do that, a young girl wants to go out in a miniskirt at 9 o'clock at night or 2 o'clock in the morning, she's entitled to do that. That's what living in a free society means. So it makes me quite angry how the victim, there's always sort of this, you shouldn't be out at that time in the morning, you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that. And I think that is something that does happen in these cases. People, I think it's because, I don't think it's through any bad thing, I think people want to find a reason, because when things like this happen, people have to get their head around it. So if they can think of a reason why it happened, it helps, I think, people individually. But of course it's rubbish, but anyway. And then of course there's been a lot of talk on social media and all over about, how often have you, if this is addressed at women, how often have you felt unsafe? And I've started thinking about it, and I thought many, many times I have felt unsafe as a woman on my own, whether I don't mean, if I'm out on my own, not only at night, in the daytime. And I thought of several instances in my life, throughout my life, that I have felt unsafe, and thought, that's not right, is it? And when you feel like you want to do something, like I personally, I love walking in the campo, in the country, for those of you who don't live in Spain. I love walking with my dogs. Sometimes I haven't got anybody else to go walking with because, sometimes there's not many people like going at crack of dawn like I do. I am an early bird. I'm up and out, and I'm out walking the dogs at 6:30, 7 in the morning. And it's pitch black sometimes, but I still enjoy it. I like that time of day. And I should be able to do that without worrying. I mean, I always take a stick with me. And, but really I shouldn't have to do that. But I do, because it makes me feel a little bit safer. The thing is, sometimes I don't feel safe, but I still do it because my desire to do that, my enjoyment of that, is greater. I think I'm not going to, and I just have to sort of go with God as well, just sort of say a little prayer, protect me, etc. I'm not going to let it stop me going out and walking when I feel like going out walking. Not now, because I'm older. Maybe when I was younger I would have done. But anyway, so I thought about several things that had happened over the years, several times when I'd felt unsafe for various reasons. And it really started, and now I'm talking about feeling unsafe from strangers. Now, domestic violence is a whole another thing. And in fact, more women are killed by domestic violence. And, really are under more threat from domestic violence than from strangers. But I think what I'm talking about is the sensation that women feel of fear from strangers, for various reasons. So anyway, so I was thinking about one incident when I was about 14 or 15, coming home, and I got off my bus a couple of stops. I got on the wrong bus in a way. It was the right bus, but it stopped. There were two buses you could get to my house when I lived in Manchester, and one would drop you off a bit short, if you like, of the house, and you'd have to walk the rest of the way, and the other one would take you more near to the door, and I got the one that stopped a little bit short, and it was the shortest. What, it was maybe, a couple of 100 yards, really. I'm not very good with distances, but maybe a 5-10 minute walk from the bus stop to my house. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I got off the bus, I started walking up the road, which was a main road, and a car stopped at the side of me. And there was a guy in that, bearing in mind I was 14, 15 at the time. The guy in the car was probably late 20s, maybe early 30s. It was a nice car. He was a handsome guy. I do remember that. Nicely spoken, nicely dressed. Hi, where are you going? Do you need a lift? Can I give you a lift anywhere? And I just stopped, and I do remember I did, something that my parents had told me must have stuck in my head somewhere, because I did sort of stand back. I didn't go up to the car or anything. I did feel very uncomfortable, and I said, no, I'm fine. I only live up there. I've not got far to walk. And he said, right, okay. There was a little bit of small talk that I can't really remember. And then he said, well, I'll be passing by this way the same time next week. Shall I meet you here on the corner? And I just said, okay, yeah, that's great. Bye, see you next week. Obviously, I had no intentions whatsoever of going back the following week. And just walked off feeling like, I did feel like I'd escaped from something, and I think maybe I had, because now, especially now, I didn't think too much of it at the time. I never even told my mum and dad. You see, that's another thing. When you're a teenager, you don't really tell your parents things. I should have told my mum and dad. I should have told them. Now I look back, I'd be mortified if I had a daughter and she didn't tell me. I found out she hadn't told me something like that. But the more I think about it now, the more I realise I did have a lucky escape, because at the end of the day, what 30-odd-year-old man stops his car on a main road to ask a teenage girl if she wants a lift home? When it's, when it's the middle of the afternoon, it's not as if I was stuck out in the middle of nowhere at night, and, that would be scary too. But you could at least see why somebody would do that. There was no reason to do it. And I often think about it now, I think I did have a lucky escape that day, I think. Maybe not, maybe he was just a genuine guy, but I don't think so. So that was one time I felt unsafe. I have, unfortunately had 3 incidences in my life, 2 in Spain and 1 in Manchester, of being a man exposing himself to me and pleasuring himself. One time I was right out in the campo with the dogs. I mean, that was terrifying, because I just didn't know what to do, because you just, I can't even explain how only someone who'd experienced that would understand how absolutely terrified you are, and you literally just freeze. There's lots of things that you think you would do if you were ever in that situation, but believe me, it's like panic just sets in. And then I was thinking, what other times had I felt unsafe? And what brought this on, this sort of, apart from the fact of poor Sarah and hearing about that, and it making everybody think a little bit, was yesterday, when I was in a shopping centre, parked in a shopping centre, and I was sort of parked. I was parked okay, but I knew as I had to reverse out of this parking space, the bollard was quite close to my car. And I was thinking, that's going to be a tight squeeze coming out there. And so just as I was about to reverse out, I saw there was a car in front of me parked, and I'd seen the guy park up there and go off to the shopping centre. And I saw him coming. He must have forgotten something in his car, because I saw him coming back, and he peeped his key fob to open his car. So I thought, I'll wait until he's gone, because he's, with the best will in the world, and I'm sure he would have only been trying to help. But I didn't want somebody, giving me the signs and telling me how to reverse and which way, because that just makes me even more unsettled. I just wanted to do it myself. So I thought, right, I'll just wait here until he's gone, so that he doesn't offer to guide me out. So I could see he's looking at me and looking at me, and I'm sat there looking the other way, and he's staring at me. Then he starts to approach me, and I just went, "Oh, no, I'm fine, really, honestly, no problem." Of course I didn't know what language he was. He looked sort of Scandinavian, but I don't know. And so he looked at me again, then he walked off a little bit. So then I started to reverse out, and then he turned around and he's going, no, like this. And so I got a little bit annoyed then, to be honest, because I thought, you've asked me if I want help. I've told you I don't want help. Just go away and leave me alone. So I said, look, I'm fine, a little bit more sort of forcibly, if you like. I'm fine, leave me alone. You just carry on. Really, I don't need your help. And he could tell he's getting a little bit annoyed then at me, and I'm just thinking, I didn't ask you to come over. So I just sat there, looked the other way. I'm thinking, don't look at him. Anyway, in the end, he started walking back. I just reversed out and got out of the parking space easily. But I just thought, why did he do that? When I told him the first time, thank you, but I'm fine, politely. Why did he then insist and then actually start to get a little bit aggressive with me because I wasn't letting him help me? And then that reminded me of a time years ago in Reading when I'd been dropped off from work a little bit earlier than normal, and I used to meet my boyfriend used to come and pick me up in a pub, and I thought, I'll have a drink while I'm waiting for him. And there were two guys in there who decided they wanted to strike up a conversation with me, and I didn't want to strike up a conversation with them. I just wanted to have a quiet drink while I'm waiting for my boyfriend to come and pick me up. I didn't want somebody chatting me up, you know. And again, one in particular started getting quite sort of aggressive. I mean, I wasn't aggressive to him. I wasn't rude to him. I just said, I mean, I'm trying to think what he said. Oh, he was like, oh, what are you doing here? You know, that. And I said, oh, I'm just having a drink. I'm waiting for my boyfriend. Oh, waiting for your boyfriend, are you? You know, like he didn't believe me, or and what's it got to do with him anyway? Even whatever I was doing there, even I was just sat there, you know, trying to pick somebody up. It's nothing to do with him. So sort of I said, I just said, oh look, honestly, you know, I don't really want to get into a conversation. I always try and be honest, but sometimes people don't like that. But I'm just having a drink and I'm just waiting for my boyfriend, and that's it, you know. So a couple of minutes went past. He comes back. Then, oh, your boyfriend's not arrived. Then, are you sure you're waiting for your boyfriend? You know, sarcastic, aggressive. Anyway, another 5 minutes go past and my boyfriend turned up. And I wouldn't say rescued me, but why should I need rescuing? I'm just sat in a pub having a drink on my own. And if I want to do that, why shouldn't I do that? Men do it all the time, you know, so that's a time that sticks in my mind. So all these things sort of remind me of times that now that's something that I do like about living in Spain. You can go to bars, sit inside or outside really. Well, certainly here in San Miguel, I mean where I live it's a little village, so maybe it's better. And I don't feel threatened or awkward. You know, if I want to go and have a, you know, I'll take my phone, I'll do stuff on my phone, or I'll take a book or my paper or whatever, and I don't necessarily. But you know what I think I'm trying to say, and to if there's any men watching this, don't think I'm having a go at you, because I'll tell you what, I'm not. I'm on your side. You should be angry with these men too, because it's these men that these kind of men that do things like this, that give all men a bad name, you know. So, and this could be your wife, your girlfriend, your daughter, your sister, who's being sort of harassed, if you like that. I mean, it is harassment, really. All right, if somebody comes up to, I'm not saying never talk to anyone, but really, you should be able to tell from someone's body language if they want to engage in conversation with you or not. And if they don't, you know, I wouldn't dream, you know, if there's a guy sat there on his own in a bar having a drink and I went up and spoke to him and then I could tell that he didn't want to speak to me, there's no way that I would try and force him to speak to me. You know, you have to read people's body language, and what I'm trying to say is women should be just as free as men to go and do all these things. They should be able to go out at whatever time they want to go out. They should, whether it be daytime, nighttime, and those incidences I'm talking about. You know, the guy trying to pick me up in the car, the guy bloody exposing himself in the campo. All afternoons. They weren't even night times. You know, so if you're not safe in the daytime, what chance have you got at night time? You know, and I know that lots of girls who and women who go out jogging and things like that, they quite often get sexually harassed. Well, you know, if a guy is jogging past me, you know, women don't sort of go, oh, look at that, and whoa, whistle and this, that, and the other. I mean, you know, what gives a man a right to think that he has to do that? Now, I know it's difficult where to sort of strike a balance. I mean, there's I don't know. All I can tell you is, as a woman, I think you know when somebody does something, you know, or gives you a compliment for, you know, I don't want men thinking they can never give women a compliment, or they can. As a woman, you know whether there's something hidden behind it or not. But I think the biggest giveaway for me is if a man tries to talk to you or help you, and don't get me wrong, if a man tries to help me and I need his help, I will accept that help. But you know, there's just sometimes you just get a feeling you don't, you know, and you have to follow your feelings. And as a man, you have to respect that the woman feels like that, even if it's totally unfounded, because it's just the way she feels. and she'll feel like that for a reason. You don't know what's happened in that woman's past. You know, you don't know what's happened to that woman before. Maybe she's been in a situation like that and someone has taken advantage of her. So I think you have to read people's body language and listen to what they say and respect that. So now we're in a situation where, you know, where do you, this poor girl, she's decided to walk home at 9 o'clock at night, and that's been the death of her, really, at the end of the day, just that simple decision. And it's just not fair. It just is not fair that she couldn't do that. So for me, I think, as men, if you're men watching this, you need to call other men out for that as well, because I know that men, there's one way that men talk around women, and there's another way that men talk around men. And if any man that's your friend or your family talks about women in a derogatory way to you at a time when it's, even if it's just you men, and you think, oh, that's got to stop. That's got to stop. It's got to be called out. This, I think the other thing that this reminds me of is the whole racism thing, like going back to Meghan and Harry, etc. In the other video, the first video that I did. Unless you're a woman, you don't understand how women feel. You don't understand how vulnerable a woman can feel because you're a man. So you can't understand, just as I can't understand properly racism because I'm not a black woman or a woman of colour, or a man of colour. I can't understand what it's like to be disabled because I'm not. Luckily, hopefully, you know, I'll never find out. I don't want to find out. You know, we don't live in these people's shoes. So, you know, I think women have to be listened to. And I would say to any man who's watching this, ask your wife, your girlfriend, your sister, your daughter, has she ever been in a situation where she has felt unsafe? And I will be very, very surprised if they turn around and say, no, I've never felt unsafe. I'll be really surprised if that happens. But maybe you can contradict me, maybe I'm wrong. I think the other thing that's come up then about this, there's a lot of talk about it today, I don't know what will happen about it in the end, is the pressure group Reclaim the Streets, which I remember from years ago when I was a young girl. I wanted to do a demonstration, you know, against sort of the, really women, it's like women are in prison. Women have a curfew against them, an invisible curfew. It's a curfew that isn't in law, it's not even named, but there is a curfew that we feel not to go out when it's dark, or not to, people walking miles a longer way round to go home because they won't walk the quickest way because it's not safe enough. So they walk miles around what's considered the safest way around the lit streets or whatever, but they should be able to take the shortcut, you know, along over the common or wherever. They should be able to do that. Why can't they do that? So this pressure group, Reclaim the Streets, they want to protest to bring attention to it, and it's all under discussion at the moment because, of course, it's the COVID situation. So they say they're going to protest in a COVID-safe manner, and I would say if they think they can do that, yeah, let them do it, and let them do it. Something, there needs to be protest, continuous protest, really. I mean, this has been brought to the front by this tragic event, but it's always out there. It's always out there, this vulnerability that women feel. And just going on further from that, no, actually, I'm not going to go into that. I'll go into that in another video because I think that's enough depressing news for this. But yeah, so this issue is not about domestic violence. That's a whole other story. This issue is about a woman or a girl, because it's all ages. I mean, how many women of 70 would go out in the dark? They'd be too scared to go out, because they'd be frightened they'd be mugged. But so it's not only sexual violence, it's just vulnerable people, who should be. You should be able to do all that. You should be able to do all that. And if it's men that are not letting people do that, it's the men that should have a curfew. They should only be allowed out if they've got reason to go out, not the women. Anyway, I know that's a contentious thing to say, but that's how I feel. Or maybe there should be certain. Well, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. But I know we can start, like everything else, we can start things just amongst ourselves. If you hear anyone making any derogatory comments about women, what they're wearing, and it's not only men, there's a lot of women will say things like that. Oh, well, yeah, but did you see what she had on? She was asking for trouble. No, she wasn't. If she could walk around naked, really, apart from the fact it's against the law. If a woman wants to do anything, wear anything, as long as it's within the law, why shouldn't she do that? Just like a man can. You don't look at a man and say, oh, well, he was asking to be raped because he had a pair of shorts on. I mean, it's crazy, that sort of thing to say. And as I say, a lot of women do say things like that, unfortunately, as well. So hopefully only older women. I do feel like younger women have got a bit more sense about them. I don't know, but I certainly hope so. Right, so that's really my rant over. The other thing I wanted to say is, so I want everyone to sort of think about that and to support people that champion sort of women's rights and things like that, because it is different being a woman. Whatever anyone says, it is different being a woman, and you are more vulnerable. And you do have this invisible curfew on you, and there are many times where you might feel unsafe. And you shouldn't. In situations, really, you should feel unsafe when you go up to the top of a mountain and you're just hanging off the edge. You shouldn't feel unsafe because you're walking home from your friend's house at 9 o'clock in the evening or at 2 o'clock in the morning. You shouldn't. These are not times when you should feel unsafe. Okay, so the last thing I want to say is all my sympathy, really, I actually could cry, goes out to Sarah's family and friends, because that's a terrible thing that they're going to have to live with. And I just hope that the guy, if he is the one who did it, which I've got to be honest, it'd be very unlikely if he wasn't, because the police don't normally release as much information as they've released so far when it's not, 99% certain or more that it is that person that's done it. As he's a double deviant, isn't he? Really, because he's a police officer. You don't expect anyone to do it, but you certainly don't expect a police officer to do something like that. Someone, that maybe she trusted, maybe that's how he, got to get into his car or whatever. I don't know all the circumstances, so really I shouldn't speculate. But yeah, it just seems even worse that it was a police officer doing this sort of thing. And that's something to remember as well, is these people that do these sort of things, do bad things, they are not nutcases, they are not people that you would, avoid like the plague because you see them, they've got wild staring eyes and bushy beards. They're not. These people, predators, they are normal people. Normal people. They have families, they have wives, they live normal lives, they're police officers, or they have respectable jobs. They're respectable in the community. They're respected. People can't believe it when they find out that they're a serial killer or that they've done this, that, or the other. They're not the people you expect. So don't ever think just because someone's got a suit on or they look okay or you think, oh, or they've got a posh accent or whatever, just doesn't mean that. So that is something as well. And one of the videos, not the next one, the next video I'm going to do is going to be fun, because I think that's what I'll be doing, breaking this video. I've done this one, which is a little bit depressing, or very depressing. So the next one will be fun. But as time goes on, I'm going to do some true crime stories, because these all, to me, it fascinates me that these people really are so normal. People cannot believe it when they find out that someone's done a shocking thing, because they think, well, he was a great guy or a great woman, because it's not only men that commit terrible crimes. I agree with that, though it's mainly men, but it's not only men, especially serial killings and things like that, or family killers. People are absolutely astonished many times afterwards. So yeah, don't think it's the bogeyman is not this sort of bearded, wild-eyed Charles Manson type always. He's a perfectly respectable, perfectly mild-mannered, lovely guy who lives at the end of the road with a lovely wife and family, and then you find out that he's got a secret life. So these are the cases that really interest me, fascinate me, because I want to know, how do you know? Or is there a way that we can find out? Anyway, I'm waffling on again. So we'll find out more about this case. Um, very, very sad. I think it's the only positivity that ever comes out of anything like this is it brings issues to the forefront. So if this case now brings about some sort of change, something that saves somebody else or makes other girls' lives safer, or other women's lives safer, that will be a positive thing, hopefully, that will come out of it. Okay, so take care. I will see you next time. I hope you found it interesting. If it's give you food for thought, that's the thing. It made you talk. If you're a man, ask your wife, ask your girlfriend, ask your sister, your daughter, and see how you can make them feel more safe, and what will make them feel more safe, and what can we do to make women feel safer. And if you're a woman, let me know. Have you ever had any of these sort of experiences where to be perfectly honest, I've had many more than that, but they were just ones that stuck in my mind. Thinking about this case of Sarah, have you been in any sort of situation like that? We should be able to go out and have a drink in a pub on our own if we want, just a quiet drink, not because we want to chat anybody up, not because we want to get off with anybody, just because we want to go and have a nice drink in the pub. But anyway, okay. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Okay? Adios. Goodbye.